Josh of UMBF Films, and I am bringing you bows. Why bows? Well, bows are kind of getting a little bit more popular these days. With games and movies and TV shows picking them up, you got games like Crysis 3, Far Cry 3, Minecraft, Tomb Raider, and even TV shows and movies like The Hunger Games and even Arrow. And because of that, ammunition prices and gun prices are going up, and well, bows are cheap as hell to make. So today I'm basically going to show you guys how to make your own PVC bow. And this is going to be a bow that's going to be pretty comparable to anything you can buy in stores. It won't last as long, but it's also going to be a 10th or a 50th of the price. Pretty much all you need to get yourself is some Schedule 40 inch to inch and a half PVC pipe. Whatever length is based on how long the bow you want and how tall or how strong you are. Basically, something around 54 inches is going to be about 50 to a 60 pound bow, while something like a 60 inch and a half 40 bow is going to be about anywhere between 70 and 80 pounds. Right here I've got a 54 inch piece of PVC, and this is going to be pretty much the starting area where anyone wants to really start and try out their strength. If you're one of the younger kids, and have adult supervision when you're doing this, because you're going to be using a heat gun, something that puts out a lot of heat and has the chance of burning your house down. And also you want to be in a well ventilated area, because PVC does give off fumes if you burn it or make it a little bit too high of a heat. So yeah, I'm starting off with a 1.25 inch PVC. It's Schedule 40, it's 54 inches long, and basically how you want to start off is by marking the center. So go ahead and get yourself a tape measure and the marker. Alright, so basically you want to go ahead and mark off the center point. Make sure your pipe is however long you want it to be. Mine's is 54 inches. Half of that is 29?
Can't go.
27.
No? Yeah.
27. There you go. Yes, the Asian.
54?
Yeah, 54. 29. 27. 27 inches.
Idiots.
I'm sorry, but I am the Asian that is not good at math. And then mark out your handhold by marking 2 inches to either side of it. And so basically this is where you want to start off. Basically these are going to be your bend points, and this is just your center point for reference. So once you have your marks made, that's your center mark and your handle marks, you're going to want to go ahead and get yourself 4 things. First off being your heat gun, second is some tin foil, and third is going to be a piece of 2x4 or whatever pretty stiff wood you have lying around. Something that will be able to fit around your PVC pipe while flattening it. And some screws to make as a spacer for when you're flattening the pipe, so you don't squish your handle in too far. So with your tin foil, you want it to be just a little bit longer than the side you're bending. I've been making longer bows, so I've got a longer piece of tin foil here, but one use is fine. You can also go ahead and if you're going to be using this a lot, just go ahead and back it with some cardboard, and that'll help keep its shape as well. And then the other part here, your bow jig. This is essentially just a piece of wood that's a little bit longer than the area you're going to be bending, and then some screws in it. For a 1.25 inch pipe, you want this to be 1 inch space, and then for an 1.5 inch pipe, you want this to be 1 1/8 inches. And this is going to be able to keep your pipe from squishing all the way down, weakening that joint. And then it's also going to give you the taper towards the end of the pipe. And then a little trick you want to do here is to just go ahead and take a file or a rasp or sander or something of that nature, and go ahead and smooth this down in a sort of a nice little curve, and this will keep from putting any hard corners in the bend there. So basically we've got our PVC pipe and our heating trough, we've got our heat gun, and we've got some gloves on standby. Now before you start heating this up, you have to keep in mind something. This is going to require a lot of pressure to go ahead and flatten this down, even when you heat it up quite a bit. So you have 2 options. You can either A, have something that you clamp on, I've got a workbench here, or you can get yourself another piece of wood and a sawhorse or something like that. But then if you're going to do that standing up, you're going to go ahead and get yourself some bar clamps or some really long quick clamps. Or the second and cheaper option is to just do it on a smooth floor, where you can just go ahead and lay your heated PVC pipe down and then step on your form and flatten your PVC bow that way. So basically, to start off, just go ahead and grab your heat gun and just start heating up your pipe. The trick here is to just keep even heat. You don't want to stay in one position too long, because that'll go ahead and start burning the pipe, and if you do that, then you're going to have issues with the bow becoming brittle. So basically, you don't want to heat too much further than your handle line, and then just keep on making small circles or quick long strokes, and you're just trying to raise the overall heat of the pipe until it starts becoming malleable, and then at which point you'll be able to pick it up and it'll just nice and bend smoothly like a noodle. When you're doing this, don't try to turn over your pipe too much, just rock it back and forth. What you're doing is you're letting the tin foil do all the work as heating the bottom and back side of it. And then you're also going to want to go ahead and put some heat down the end of the pipe every so often, and that'll raise the core temperature of it. And that'll just make heating up the pipe a lot easier. And this is going to take about anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes, depending on the strength of your heat gun. No, not a hair dryer, a heat gun. This is something that can raise temperatures up to about 300 degrees Fahrenheit. And I do strongly suggest you do this in a well-ventilated environment, because this does release fumes while you're heating it up, and it's not good for your health. So now you've probably reached this point where it's actually starting to get noodly and floppy like this. You're not ready yet. Keep going. I learned this the hard way. Basically, you'll say it's starting to get noodly. It's probably able to be squished down now. It's not. It's still pretty solid in the center, and you want to go ahead and heat it through all the way. And basically, you want to be able to just push on it with a finger and have it collapse on itself pretty much. Don't do that though. The pipe is really hot. Alright, so once you pick up this side, use a glove that's hot. It should be able to pick up real easily and bend towards this end. At that point, go ahead and turn this off. Set it aside and put it on your work surface, whether it be the floor or workbench. And then go ahead and line up your curved side with your handle. And then go ahead and start clamping down. Or if you're not using clamps, go ahead and step on it. And for those of you using clamps, just go ahead and give it a good push to start with. That'll go ahead and make it a little bit easier to clamp this.
I think it's off center.
Yeah. There we go. And then if you're using a thinner piece of wood, go ahead and get yourself a third clamp and put that in the middle, and just basically straighten out your piece of wood. Don't put it into a negative curve, I guess you want to call it, because that's not really going to help your bow performance anymore. And it's alright if it's not perfectly flat and it's a little bit off-centered. And then if it's not 100% flat on the very end, just go ahead and give it a little bit extra heat. Careful to not burn the wood you're using. It shouldn't burn immediately. You'll see it starting to blacken and char first. And remember, like I said, don't keep it a constant heat because then you'll start burning the plastic.
Ooh, I smell burnt plastic. There's that wood.
That's wood.
We should go start a fire with a water bottle. While this cools.
While this cools, when there's no freaking sun out, it's all overcast and cloudy.
Usually I think it just started raining.
Yeah, exactly. Alright. I just want to go ahead and look at your side. Come in. And then make sure that's go ahead and pretty much damn near touching, if not all the way across. You at least want the center of it to be touching. And then just go ahead and let this cool. Nothing else you can do for a while. This should take about 3 to 10 minutes depending on the type of surface you're working on. If it's like cold concrete, it'll pretty much be instantaneously, but with wood it's going to take a little bit longer. It's not going to be that hot, so just go ahead and take your fingertips and touch in there every so often, and that should tell you how hot it is. When this is comfortable to the touch and it's not searing hot, then you can go ahead and take it out of the jig. It shouldn't deform too much, and then you can do some fire. So now that it's cool to the touch, or at least comfortable to the touch, you can go ahead and just go ahead and take this off now. Or if those of you who are standing on it, you can go ahead and step off of it now. Alright, then you should have something that looks like this. Goes ahead and does a smooth taper down, and then it's a nice, fairly straight blade. One side is going to be flat, that's going to be the front of your bow. And any imperfections like this doesn't really matter, because when we do we'll cut a V out of this and taper this back in, so it shouldn't bother too much in the process. And then go ahead and just repeat the step on the other side, and we'll get back to you after that. Now that we have both limbs flattened out, you notice they're a little bit off center from each other. They're a bit kilter and everything, but that's not going to matter because we're going to be heating up the center right here to form the handle. We're just going to be squeezing it a little bit. And that's going to thin it out and let the arrow be more towards the center of where the bowstring is going to be. And during this process, we're also going to twist the limbs a little bit so that they are perfectly linear to each other. To do this, you're going to go ahead and find some way to stand your heat gun straight up. Ours has a little thing like that, so just basically go ahead and slowly do this. You're going to want to go ahead and heat all the way from over here all the way to over here. So that's basically the two bent down points of your handle. Alright, right about there is good enough. Keep that handy on the side. And then for this part, you want to go ahead and put this, first off, you want to go ahead and bend your handle into shape. And then you want to go ahead and put the twist or whatever adjustments you need to straighten out your bow. Make sure this is still straight. And this is very hot, so I strongly recommend you wear thick gloves. Thicker than what I have. Possibly oven mitts. Those would help. So basically you're just using 2 fingers to do the forming, and this is going to give you the rounded center for putting your thumb and the arrow on either side of it, depending on how you bend it. Right about now it's solidified enough. Then you want to go ahead and take it back to the heat, focusing on just the limbs now, because we're going to go ahead and detense the bow, because this is going to be a recursive bow. Alright, now basically the side that's going to be towards you, you put that down and just let the arms rest. And then also make sure it's still all lined up, straight as an arrow, figuratively speaking. And basically now you're going to get this slight arch to it. And then from here on, we're going to go ahead and do markings once this is cool for the bends in the limbs, so that we can get the recursive going. Fuck you, my hand needs to be there. Alright, so now that you've gotten your bow formed, you have both the edges, you've detensed. Now that you have both your limbs flattened, you've detensed the bow, you have your handle formed. Now you want to go off into the finishing processes of making your bow. Because this is going to be a recursive bow, notice it's detensed this way, so this is the front of your bow, it's also the flatter side. You're going to go ahead and mark about 8 inches in on both sides.
Bitch, we use metric.
I don't care about your metric, you can convert it. It's about 20 centimeters. If you're so concerned.
You want to be an engineer? What?
No, I never really wanted to be an engineer. And then also go ahead and mark in 1/8 of an inch, or about 1/4 inch in. Right there towards the tip. And then you're going to want to go ahead and mark about 6 inches down. And then put a mark there. And then go ahead and center that point.
Shouldn't you be using a square?
Not really. It's not going to fit a square on this anyways. It's what, 2 1/4, so 1 1/8. And then get yourself a straight edge.
Or a square.
And then just go ahead and mark your V.
Be a square. Sorry, over the past 2 hours that we've gotten here, you know, we've been in here making this, I've developed an attitude.
I hear no shit, Sean.
Fat ass fingers are in the way. I can't see what's going on.
I'm just doing the same thing on the other side, marking the center point.
Bitch. No, I'm just kidding.
No, sir, I don't want to.
Oh man, there's a show on Netflix called The In-Betweeners.
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's funny. It's a British comedy,
Oh, okay.
but it's about like kids in, I guess they call it grade, I think 11. There.
Anyways, from here, you're going to go back to your heat gun, and then you're also going to want to get another special object. Basically from here, you can either go ahead and just cut this groove out, use your heat gun to heat these end points right here and smush the ends together, and then cut your notches, and you have a finished just longbow. Well, this is pretty short, but it's still a longbow. Or you can go ahead and go for the recursive, in which sense you want to get yourself some sort of metal pot that you're going to be able to form the curve around. I've just got a pot locked into a vise. You don't have to have it locked into a vise, doesn't need to be. But basically what you're going to do is right here at this 8-inch mark, you're going to go ahead and just essentially clamp it down or use your hand, and then you're going to heat the rest of this up, and then you're just going to bend it down, and this should essentially make a 90-degree turn, and you shouldn't really go beyond that. If you have excess beyond the 90-degree turn, just leave that going straight out. Alright, so let's go ahead and grab a glove or two.
Pretty sure I'd use zoom way too much in this video.
Probably. It's okay. Go ahead and clamp it down at your 8-inch mark. Grab your heat gun and just start eating it up. So basically, we had a little issue where I didn't heat the pipe up enough, where it got too hot. Not quite sure, but the side split open, so I just basically took some epoxy putty and filled that in, and it should be okay. Not
We
quite
had a
sure.
big conversation about honeycombs.
Yeah, because it kind of looked like honeycombs when it split apart. But anyways, this is just kind of a filler for right now. I'm still waiting on the material, but it should be here in a couple days. But it's also an optional step, is to take some 1.5 to 1.25 heat shrink tubing, and then slide it over and then just shrink it up after you've cut this notch out and bent it. Anyways, to that part. So as you notice, we have those V notches we measured out from before. So you're just going to cut them out, and then you're going to heat them up and then squeeze the sides together, and that'll be it. And just do that for both sides. I would suggest using a coping saw, like such, because you can get the edge out of the way. It's a nice thin blade, so you can easily maneuver it. One of the bad problems of using a coping saw, though, is that because it is such a thin blade, it's kind of difficult to keep a straight line, and the blade flexes side to side. So, you know.
Pros and cons.
Yeah, pros and cons of everything. There really is no other real way. You can always get a PVC saw as well. This is going to help you get a straighter line, but because it's such a wide blade, it's going to be difficult to work on this.
Oh, I see. I was unaware of which way the blade was.
That's why it's a coping saw. It copes with the corners. Not really. Alright, there you have it.
That looks awful.
What?
I just have.
Oh, yeah. No, that's fine. Alright, and there you have it. So basically you've got your wedges cut out. Now, you just want to go ahead and get yourself some sandpaper, or even a file or something, go ahead and smooth this out. And then, if you really care about all the burrs, get yourself a razor blade, and just go ahead and slide it along the edge. And that'll mostly get all the burrs off. But really it's just kind of a added step that you don't really need. Alright, and then just do the same thing for the other side, and then we'll go ahead and get the rest of the thing going. We'll put some notches on and then get this strung up and go ahead and test this out. So this is an additional step. It's not quite necessary, but this will help keep your bow a little bit stiffer and keep the ends lasting a little bit longer. Is just take a little bit of epoxy putty, or epoxy if that's what you have, and just fill in just this little end, because when you cut in the notches it's going to expose the side of the PVC, and to strengthen it up you just want to fill that in. Alright, so now after you've heated up your limbs right here in this area, just go ahead and squish the edges together. And now this part is where you're going to want to go ahead, look down the edge of the bow, make sure everything is sided up. And if it's not perfectly sided up, you can always just wait until this forms and then heat it up again into sided up. Alright, now that you've gotten all your ends bent to a point, you can go ahead and do two things at this point. You can either go ahead and epoxy this seam to give it extra strength, or you can get 1.5, or depending on whatever your pipe is, 1 1/4, 1 inch heat shrink tubing. It's fairly cheap, you can purchase it online in those giant sizes, and just basically from here until about here, just enough room to leave for your nocks. And just go ahead and heat shrink that in, and that'll provide all the support you need from this thing twisting. And you can also do it without, but it's a little bit more dangerous and you have to be a little more conscious when using the bow. Okay, so the final thing you need to do is to knock the bow. So the best way to do it is to use a file, but you can still use your coping saw or whatever you have at hand. The trick is you want to go at a severe angle towards the back of the bow. And you want to go ahead and do that about 1.5 inches to 1 to 2 inches, that area. And you just want it to meet along the back and all the way to the front. And this is also the reason you want to fill the inside of the thing with putty, so that you get extra support. And you want this to be about 1/4 inch gap, because this will allow your string to sit in there comfortably. There you go. And then do the same thing with the other side, just have it meet up. Or not completely meet up, but point in that general same direction. So, alright, so we've got our bow finished. We've got our knots cut. We haven't done the optional sheathing or the epoxy strengthening, but it should be fine. So we've got our 550 cord. This is 550 strength brake cord. If you don't have this, generally it's called parachute cord, but you can also use nylon rope, or you can go out and get yourself an actual bowstring. This stuff is fairly decent. It's a little bit slower than actual bowstring, but it still works. So you want to start out by going ahead and tying off a loop. So basically you want to just go ahead and give yourself some distance, and you want to kind of try and tie this loop really tight up to it, because you don't want it slipping off when you're going ahead and trying to string up the bow. Alright, that's a little too big, but if you ever run into a situation where you can't get the knot undone and you've already made the other side, just when you're stringing the bow, just do a twist like this and you'll be fine. This is how a properly sized loop should be. Right, so once you've got this side done, because this is a 54-inch bow, we want the string to be about 50 inches to 48 inches, 50 inches for a slightly slower bow, and 48 for a higher poundage. So go ahead and get our ruler out. Right. And then give yourself a little extra for the knot tying.
Safest way to cut yarn.
It's not yarn.
String.
It's not string, it's rope. It's actually not even rope, it's cord.
Point stands.
No.
Sarcasm. Safest way to cut it is just keep yanking a razor at your face.
Yep. Tried and true method. Right. And there we go. Now to take it out and put some arrows with it. See you then. So now to string up your bow, go ahead and loop one of your one side, make sure it's in the nocks. Keep tension on the string, bring it over, loop it on your leg, step through, and oh, this is gonna be a strong one.
Holy shit.
Alright, there we go.
Man. I don't think that's right.
No, the string's too small. Or too long. No, the string's too long.
Oh man. Can you not get it off?
No.
Do you need help? I don't know if I can or not. So you sure you grabbed the right one? Because you brought two bows out here.
It's still on that bow. Even still. Yeah, it should be like way back there.
I feel like any tension back that way to make it look like a bow is gonna break it.
No, that's how that one was too.
Alright.
Ready?
Take two.
Watch this thing snap on me. Yep, it broke.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Where did it break it?
Well, I felt it start to give. I don't think this thing is even... Yeah, that's about all it has right there. Alright, what I'm going to need to use for this one is standoffs.
What?
Standoffs basically give you more clearance.
Alright.
Alright.
Even though it's raining, I think that's still sweat.
What? That's still what?
I think you're still sweating. It's not just the rain.
No. Oh, there it goes. I got in the wood! Damn it. There goes all my bow purchase. Can't even get the
I think that was an F.
fletching.
Oh man.
Straight into the dirt.
Alright. I think that's all you got.
So everyone, we've learned a valuable lesson here today.
No, we haven't.
Yes, we have. Don't use 1.25" on a 54-inch bow. Go longer. Go with a 60-inch bow. This is a 66-inch bow. Unfortunately, I broke it the other day. I bent one of the limbs, so it's got a crappy string on it right now, which doesn't puts it in the same department, but not nearly as much tension. Get mad, bro.